So guys, we're going to head into executive session. If you're not named, you can step out. And Jackie.
Yes.
Excellent.
I also vote yes.
Oh, geez, Scott, you got bumped off my tiles. Hold on. I'm going to expand here. There you are. Are you guys hearing that playback?
Yeah, that was awesome. So weird.
Cool.
That may have been
I was in like
access feedback.
The multiverse or something. That was awesome. All right, so we're going to move forward here with the next item on the agenda, and it is our student representative report, and Ryan is here to inform us. Hi, Ryan.
Hello. So today, me and two other students went down to the center school to talk to a fifth grade and a second grade class about the Stowe Food Pantry and some of our volunteer work there, as well as volunteering in general, and then kind of high school life. So I thought that was super cool to kind of see the little kids asking away on all their questions. And then we're going back for an all-school assembly March 20th. So definitely looking forward to that. Boys hockey won their first playoff game earlier. I just got home from that. It was super fun. Girls hockey plays tomorrow, and boys basketball plays on Friday. The yearbook club has started taking pictures of all the different clubs, and for senior superlatives, so they're going around and getting the yearbook ready, which I thought was cool. Is Maria in here?
Yes. Hi, Maria.
She will.
Hey guys. Did you finish your part, Ryan?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So next week, our counselors will be meeting with the freshmen, the sophomore, and the juniors for the course selection. And next Wednesday, we have an advisory group meeting. And our spring musical, Big Fish, is happening March 13, 14, and 15, which is a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
All right. Thanks, guys, for that report. Does anybody have any questions for Ryan and or Maria? All right, not seeing any. I hope you guys are acclimating back from your vacation week and snow days. And I hope you have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye. All right, everybody, on to our next agenda item, and that is the superintendent's report. So I'll turn it over to Kirk and his team.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for your recognition tonight. And thank you to the committee and everyone out there who was watching the meeting this evening. I'm toggling across screens. I left my hard copies on my desk at the office. Forgive me, Alita. In the meeting materials today, you have the Aspet Valley Collaborative report number 3. This is the annual report. I would encourage the committee members to take some time to go through this report and read through it. It gives a basic summary of the programs, the relationships with the school districts. It shows the benefits, the purpose of each of those. You also get a sense of the mission and vision of the Aspet Valley Collaborative. We do utilize the collaborative not just for transportation, but also for services. We have some students that are in the REACH program specifically to that. This report was accepted by the board at Aspet Valley Collaborative, which is the superintendents representing the districts, in December. We offer it to you tonight as update number 3. And then moving on to the NRSD CD policy and local graduation requirements. I tipped the committee off to this previously, but now we're officially putting it into the record that our local graduation requirements and competency determination policies have been accepted by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. So that's good. We know that's happening there. Now, we do know that the state is going to continue to move forward on the graduation requirements. This is a conversation that we're engaged with our state leaders right now. We met with the Worcester County representatives today. The Worcester County superintendents had just about 10 of our state legislators, both representatives and senators, attending. We have our Tri-County Roundtable on Tuesday, where we'll also be talking about the graduation requirements. And we're anticipating upwards of 25 senators and representatives in that meeting. So we're happy that those policies are accepted. So we've met that requirement, but certainly there's more still to come on the conversation around local graduation requirements. And Madam Chair, that shall conclude a brief superintendent report this evening.
Indeed. Any questions on those two items? I am not seeing any. All right, guys, we're going to keep moving the agenda forward. Thank you for that, Kirk.
You bet.
The next item here is new business, and Kirk is asking for a vote this evening on the transportation coordinator position job description. This is one of those rare instances where we will hear about something with some specificity and then be asked to vote on it just because of the timely nature of the item. We did kind of prep the committee at the last meeting and the community that this would be coming. So, we don't normally do it this way, but that is what we decided at the last meeting. So Kirk will present it to us and then we'll ask for a vote.
Great. So Madam Chair, last meeting, we did present to you our strategy for managing the escalating costs of out-of-district transportation as well as our in-district transportation for special education services. So I won't go through that process again, as we've already put that into the record. But to execute that strategy, we need to have the job description for the transportation coordinator approved. It is in the meeting materials for this evening's meeting, so I would encourage our members to take a look at that. But I would like to bring forward Miss Roanne Damash to speak to that. And Miss Masterson, if you can bring the job description up to the screen, and Miss Damash can speak to that. So the floor is yours, Roanne.
Thank you, Superintendent Downing, School Committee. Tonight, I'm going to go through the proposed job description for the transportation coordinator, as we discussed at the last meeting. Here we go. Great, thank you, Alita. So what you have for the job description that we kind of went through, we vetted through multiple job descriptions across the state and really then designed it to Nashoba. So you have a description at the top of what the coordinator's responsibilities are. And for the purposes of this position, they will only be coordinating all the aspects of the student services transportation, including the in-district and the out-of-district busing, communication with all the personnel and families regarding that transportation. Based on our research that Jessica Murdoch conducted, we anticipate the recommended salary range to be $72,500 to $78,000, depending on the person's background and experience. That position will sit directly within the Director of Student Services office, so I will oversee that position on day-to-day operations. But the overall responsibilities for the position is to really coordinate all of the transportation services, to work with individual vendors on contracts, to organize routes, to assess routes, to work with central office to provide information on a regular basis about the routing and what students are on the routes or the number of students on the routes, to look at the budgeting aspects of it and to really work in the constructs of the IEP process, along with identifying the best transportation service for students. And that could include working with other districts on shared routing. It could also work on asking vendors to change routes that we feel might be more efficient, and to keep in mind all the safety aspects that we're requesting to make sure our students are safely transported. They'll also manage all the communications with families. That could include any concerns parents or families have that will then come to myself or the superintendent, depending on the issue, and really working on the budgetary aspects overall of transportation services. We're looking for someone to really have the experience, either a bachelor's or an associate's. It depends on their background and experience. We're more looking for someone that has the background, that has worked in this type of field before. And we're really looking for them to be very efficient and communicate very well with not only my office, but most importantly, families in the community. So I'll take any questions about the job description or any suggestions.
There's one element I would like to add, Ms. Demanche, and it's related to a question that the committee asked at the last meeting, and that is if this person would also be the transportation coordinator for our large bus transportation that we have in the district. That is not our intention today, but the job description is written broadly enough that if we learn that is a natural synergy for the position in the future, that we will be able to pivot that way.
Does anybody have any questions? Amy?
Yeah, I've got two questions. The first is, I didn't see anywhere that this specifies if this is a 10-month position or year-round position. I saw something about needing to be available before and after school days, but is this just like while school is in session? And does that need to be clarified on this job description?
That's a great point. It is a 12-month position because a lot of work happens over the summer to get ready for the school year. So yes, it is a 12-month position. We'll make sure to point that out.
Okay. And then my second question had to do with item or responsibility number 7, because I guess when the need for this position was brought to the committee at our last meeting, I thought a lot of it had to do with being able to put someone in charge of trying to find the most cost-efficient solutions to transportation, and I don't know that that comes across in this job description. So I was wondering, with responsibility number 7, if we just should we consider adding the word cost into that sentence where it says managing the most cost-efficient routes, or am I?
Yeah, Ms. Cohen, I'll take that question. Okay. The coordinator won't be in charge of that. Ms. Demanche will, and Mr. Mulcairn will. The coordinator will be in charge of executing that strategy. So, but the coordinator will be there to communicate and shop and do the things and bring the information to those leaders. But it's our leaders that will be doing that work.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions? See Jillian.
Thank you. I just had a quick question about the hours. If you go back to page 2, I believe it said that, thank you so much, because I will not remember the exact wording. If you go all the way down to the bottom of education and experience. Thank you. So the coordinator will prioritize completing the necessary tasks and set hours accordingly. Is there just an expectation of minimum hours per week? Or, if the coordinator says, I can, do this in 90 minutes, before and after school, is that sufficient?
For these positions, all of our folks that are in our support positions at the central office, they have 8-hour positions with half hour unpaid lunch. So it would fall in line with all the other support staff positions we have at the central office.
Thank you.
And Kirk, just as a follow-up, the before and after would not disrupt or go beyond the hours that everybody else works?
Yeah, no, this position can be executed within the same hours as our other 12-month employees that are support staff employees.
I only ask because I know some of the special education transportation rolls at 6:50 a.m.
Yeah.
But then it can also, the last kids who might be kindergartners might be rolling at 4 p.m.
So I think some of those nuances Ms. DeManch will work on with her team, because our team is also trained and coordinated in helping, because that's part of the bench building that we've talked about in the past.
Oh, okay.
That she'll be able to coordinate in that way. So you make a good point. We need to be available in the morning hours to support when needed. You got to remember, our coordinator, we will still be working directly with the bus companies. So those issues about pickups in the morning will still be handled directly with the bus companies as somebody goes to pick up a student. And then we help facilitate any issues that arise through that.
Got it. So it's a team effort.
It is a team effort indeed.
Any other questions? It is indeed a full-time job, though, is what we're saying, for the money.
It is a full-time job.
All right, I don't think we have any other questions before the motion. All right, so Amy, do you want to move this issue?
Yes, I move to approve the transportation coordinator job description as presented tonight.
I'll second that. Is there any further discussion? I'd just like to enter onto the record. I know that, Kirk, you said we talked about the causation of this last meeting. It's probably important just to state that although we are adding what appears to be a potential $78,000 increase in salary, it is a net savings of maybe the same.
What I'll tell you, no, for the agency fee we pay for our transportation fully utilized, we would anticipate next year it being $170,000. So this pay position, bringing this internally, is just a direct net savings in terms of transportation coordination of $90,000. And that's reflected in the cost of transportation line.
And I would also say that in addition to the agency fee that you spend, there's also a lot of man/woman hours in your main office managing the manager.
Well, that is exactly right. And which is why, and that's not to say it's complex running 13 school systems in one cloud, well, for 13 towns in one school system. So yes, we've had to jump in and coordinate some of that as we speak. So it's going to help us with time and effort of our current employees. It's going to help us in terms of cost. We see lots of positive impacts of this position.
Okay, so that's for the record. Any other discussion? All right, let's take our vote. I'm going to vote yes. Amy? Oh, Amy, you had a hand up.
Well, I guess my only question is that some of the feedback we gave on this job description about this being a full-time position, will that be incorporated into this job description? Because yes, we will make sure that it's noted as a 12-month position. Okay, so do I need to amend? I'm not trying to get too technical or anything, but we said we were approving the job description as presented with the, do we need to add language to the motion?
You can amend your motion to say as presented and discussed this evening in the meeting.
Okay, I'd like to amend my motion to include as you just said.
Yeah, and I seconded the motion and I accept that amendment.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So then
Thanks,
I vote
Amy.
yes. Yeah.
Joe Gleason would be so proud of us right now.
I was thinking the same thing.
We miss you, Joe. So good to go, everybody. I vote yes. Amy, do your vote?
Yes.
Shondor
Yes.
and Matt,
Yes.
Jillian,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Hi, Lindsay. Lindsay,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
and Sharon.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. So, Kirk, good luck with that. That might be
Thank
the
you, and
easy
thank you
part.
to the committee.
All right, everybody, let's move the agenda to the next item here. And that is the finance and operations update. And we're going to hear a proposed budget update number 2. So I'll turn that back to you, Kirk, and your team.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, we would like to bring the budget update number 2 to you. We were very hopeful that you were going to approve that job description. So in the construction of the numbers you'll see tonight, we included an estimated cost in that position of $80K, even though that's a little bit different than the job description. Just the timing of those, we'll make sure in the final iteration of our budget, it matches the limit of what that salary range on the job description says. But want to thank you all. We can go ahead and bring the presentation up. We're going to bring to you the updates that we have tonight. These are primarily fiscal updates as opposed to programming updates. So the lion's share of these slides you're going to hear from Assistant Superintendent Mulcairn. And I will just turn it over to you, Ross, to bring us in here.
Thank you, Superintendent Downing. I was just shuffling my slide deck onto the correct screen on my workspace here. So thank you, Superintendent Downing. Good evening to the school committee. Look forward to moving through our update slides and answering your questions this evening. So, routine and predictability here from me. So as we present our updates, we'll check in on our timeline for this budget season. We will certainly go over sort of where we were at the end of the last meeting and the last update. And then we'll talk about our updates for this evening, which comprise of expense adjustments. And then we'll present to you the updated overall budget and how that impacts our town assessments, and then get into our next steps for the remainder of the budget season. So here we are this evening, budget update number 2. We will move on to our joint FinCom and advisory meeting tomorrow evening. You will notice at the end of this slide deck are the FinCom slides for tomorrow. We wanted the school committee to have a preview available to them, and we'll share those with the town of Stowe, who is hosting this year, so they can post those to the meeting materials as we begin tomorrow. Here's where we ended budget update number 1. You'll recall that we had some significant changes, not only from the governor's budget and state aid, but Superintendent Downing and our Director of Student Services, Roanne DeManch, presented the extent of the work that they did revolving around special education transportation, which ties into the approval of that job description that you just did a moment ago. So again, here's where we landed at the end of the last meeting. Moving into the budget updates for this evening, we're going to be focused in on, we got our verbal rate increase from Maya. This includes also the specialized transportation coordinator in the update of the budget, and we've updated some offsets as well, in addition to some salary changes that you'll see. So here's an increase, and that's the only increase that we're bringing forward this evening. There's that $80,000 number that would increase the operating budget to account for that transportation coordinator for special services, for student services that was just approved. We're going to go through the expense reductions. Superintendent Downing is going to begin as these composed of the salary-based reductions. So Superintendent Downing.
Thank you. So what you'll see with these reductions here are we brought forward a kindergarten and Mary Rowlandson, a center and Mary Rowlandson kindergarten position this year. We currently are operating this year with 3 sections of kindergarten in both of those schools. We added the 4th section to the budget because we never know what our kindergarten enrollment will bring. What I will tell you is excuse me, Madam Chair. I had a cough there. We're experiencing what the entire state is experiencing, and that is a decline in kindergarten students enrolling in our schools. Is a phenomenon that's happening all across the state, as the state has reduced 15,000 students year over year. And it's mostly graduating seniors leaving and kindergartners coming in. Right now, two of our schools, Mary Rowlandson and Florence Sawyer, we have captured 56 kindergartners, and I mean in all the best terms when I say captured, because we can't wait for those little folks to join us. At Center School, we are at 43. These are low numbers. These are historically low numbers for us. And that doesn't mean people aren't choosing Nashoba. It just means that's the number of students that are in our towns that are school aged coming to us. So at this point, I feel secure in reducing 2 of the kindergarten positions. Just know if for some reason, so Florence Sawyer would stay at 4 sections, but if for some reason, let's say MRE moved over our 3-section threshold into 4 sections and Florence Sawyer did not, we would shift that position over to MRE. So we're going to keep one of the 3 kindergarten positions there, so we can continue to watch enrollment throughout the springtime. Next is a salary adjustment. So as we look at our salary rates for next year, we've made an adjustment, which is a reduction of $188,000. I want to take a moment to acknowledge that we are currently in negotiations with both Unit A and Unit C for the next contract. And it's likely that those contracts will not be ratified and approved by the associations and the school committee until after the budget season. So that $188,000 is subject to change based upon those negotiations, but we have to build a budget today. And so the budget we have ready for you has the salaries in it. And so, Mr. Mulcairn, I'll turn the second half over to you.
Thank you, Superintendent Downing. So further reductions to the operating budget for FY27 that we're presenting. Within the technology hardware line, $91,000. That's for the smart board section of that budget. Between the state earmark and some other adjustments within this budget, we feel comfortable that we're able to purchase what we need in smart boards, those projectors, this year. So again, thank you to the efforts of Senator Kennedy in getting that, Representative Kennedy in getting that taken care of and move forward. That earmark is substantially helpful, not just for right now, but also for our next budget. We did meet with our Maya representatives. Our health insurance rate came in at an 11.5% increase. You may recall that the cap of the range was 14.4%, which is what we had budgeted as of the last budget iteration. So changing that brings it down another $218,000. The dental comes down a little bit as well. We also looked at where we could potentially offset more of our costs. Circuit breaker, as we are spending more money on those students, we'll get more back. The governor's budget signaled in a good direction that we'll get more back at a higher level. So we feel comfortable increasing that offset, therefore reducing the budget by another $200,000 in special education and transportation. Lastly, we're going to use additional athletics user fee to offset the athletics transportation. So our total expense reduction is just over $1 million, which will bring me to the next slide. I just want to briefly, we did something similar with school choice last budget update 2 weeks ago. So we have 6 athletic revolving funds. One is just called athletic revolving fund. That's our tickets and gate receipts. We also have athletic user fees for the high school and the 3 middle schools, and an athletic donations. The athletic donations account is not up for any sort of discussion or presentation. I just want to make sure that we're clear about which ones fall under athletics. And then we annually present the balances, expenses, and revenue at the typically November school committee meeting as part of the FY closeout from the previous fiscal year. And it's linked here in the meeting materials from November, if anybody wanted to go back. So expenses from athletic revolving accounts, So direct expenses are the athletic admin assistant that is housed in the athletic office at the high school and does those duties. And we also pay game officials directly, as well as pool and ice rentals. And, apparently that ice rental is going to good use as the hockey teams are moving forward in playoffs. And then also we have offsets to the operating budget in the form of transportation for athletics, and then the track and field debt. That has been a long-standing offset of $25,000 annually as part of the structure of the budget. So diving a little bit deeper into the operating budget offset we've presented this evening, this is just a quick screenshot of what was presented in November as far as balances and expenses and revenues that you can see from FY25. So based on those balances at the end of last year, we're increasing the offset from the athletic user fees to athletic transportation in the operating budget. So we're going from $45,000 last year to $45,000 this year to $105,000 offset next year. In the previous slides, you saw that only went up approximately $45,000. That's because we had already increased it to $60,000 in our first iteration of the budget. So just going back to the summary of our expense increase of that salaried position for special education transportation coordinator, those expense reductions as presented, our net change on the budget for FY27 for update number 2 is just under $950,000. Which brings us to our operating budget. I want to point out that the change percentage is 3.72. You may recall at the end of the last budget update, we had set a target of under 4%, and we met that target, and that's the resulting assessment to the towns for their operating budgets. And then finally, just bringing us to our next steps, we're meeting with the joint FinCom tomorrow, and then we have the public hearing and your final update next week, and then finally your vote in 2 weeks, as well as the town meetings moving forward from there. So at this time, I can take questions, go back. I know that Superintendent Downing is available as well.
Thanks, Ross. What questions do we have? Trying to make sure I have everybody on my screen here. Oh, okay. There we go. Scott, take it away.
All right. So as far as I've gotten in the budget, I've got 3 questions so far. So you talk about an insurance increase of 11%, but as I look at the slides in the budget presentation, it looks like it's 3.6%. So I'm trying to understand what the disconnect there is.
No, absolutely, Mr. Powell. So you may recall from the budget workshop, we presented all of the detail on our insurance counts, which are actually down from last year when we budgeted. So FY26 to FY27 January counts are down. So we budget based off of the January counts. So there's a differential there. There's also a differential because some people have chosen the opt-out, which brings them out of the insurance headcounts. And additionally, we've increased our offsets. So the total increase that you see year to year is not as big as the full 11.5%.
Okay, so
I like to think of the 11.5% is the increase of a single plan, whereas what you see in the budget is the total aggregate of all plans.
So let me see if I can restate that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. So the rate is going up by 11.5% in this budget, but the number of people covered by insurance from last year's budget to this budget has gone down, which is part of the reason that it's only up by 3.5%. The other part of the reason gets me to one of my other questions, which I think is on slide 18. Let me get there. No, not 18. 19. So 19 looks like there's before offsets and after offsets. You'll have to explain to me the offset, not your presentation. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the budget update deck. So I'm actually in the weeds of the numbers here.
Update number 2, Scott?
Sorry?
The slide
Yep.
deck for budget update number 2?
Yes,
Slide
that's correct.
19?
Yep.
Okay.
So that categorizes some before offset and after offset numbers. So it looks like, so it says, so for example, the health insurance line says there's a school choice offset. You're taking all the school choice money and putting it towards health insurance. And then you're taking some food service money and putting it towards health insurance, and extended learning money and putting it towards health insurance. Can you explain the rationale behind why all those offsets go towards insurance specifically as an offset? You're muted.
My apologies. A couple things, Mr. Powell, on that. So traditionally, that's how they've been applied. And when you start shifting offsets around, then you start really throwing off the school committee and the public with regards to what the costs are. So we're applying traditional sources. The increase on the school choice is because of the decision by the school committee to increase our school choice slots. We are comfortable with where that is, as well as where the balance was at the end of last year. So we know that we can carry that amount in the offset for school choice.
So do you happen to know if the offset amounts for health insurance were similar magnitude last year?
No, last year it was lower. I believe last year we had it at 300,000.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know about the insurance component. In looking at the teaching and learning section, it looks like headcount is going up there. Is that correct?
What do you mean by head count, Mr. Powell? I'll have to just, as I'm pulling this up, go ahead.
Well, so teaching and learning administration is going from 234 to 355. That looks like a person to me.
That's
Correct.
the
Go ahead, Mr. Superintendent Downing.
yeah, that is the curriculum coordinator position that was in the workshop that we presented to you.
Okay.
So that was the position that we put on timeout for a year and didn't have. That's the director of ELA and social studies.
And then looking at the schools that have deans, those are all increases from last year's budgets, but we have the deans currently, correct? So refresh my memory about how we're paying for that in the current budget, such that it looks like an increase in the fiscal 27 budget.
Mr. Mulcairn?
Yeah. Yep. So certainly, because we had a post-budget adjustment from the insurance from Maya, we use that money towards that. So you'll see a surplus in the insurance and benefits line month over month on the operating reports. That pays for the deans that are within the building budgets right now. So we didn't budget for it. However, we know that we have that surplus, which now offsets them coming back in post-budget. And I believe Superintendent Downing did that update in May of last year. And then we reiterated those changes at the beginning of the school year and likely during the budget workshop if memory serves.
Okay. And then one more question for now. It's related to slide 16, which is the executive summary that shows the total budget. And it's just a presentation question as much as anything. So like the fourth or fifth line says debt service. And then a few lines down, you have a section that's called debt service. Why are you breaking those things out like that?
We break it out like that to show the principal and interest so that the public is aware of what the principal payment is and what the interest payment is on each of those, instead of having to go way back into the system-wide detail slides. When we present the assessments to the towns, we do the operating assessment as well as they get notice of their debt assessment, and it breaks out the principal and interest there as well.
Okay, I understand the presentation now. Okay,
yeah,
great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Scott. Any other questions?
Madam Chair, if I may jump in?
Sure.
Madam Chair, I might recommend to you as the chair that I know our hearing is scheduled for next week for the public, but we can always schedule a school committee meeting to follow the hearing to afford the committee more time to ask questions, recognizing they just received this budget update in the booklet as well.
Yeah, I think that is how we have historically done it. that school committee meeting, just so everybody knows, the school committee meeting to follow is one item, and it is
Budget.
an opportunity for you to have any deliberation really related to what you hear at the hearing. And so I actually will ask you to schedule it that way, Kirk, so that, because that's how we normally do it.
Okay.
So we'll go hearing, and then we'll convene a Nashoba school committee meeting, open for discussion, because the committee can't really deliberate at the hearing, although I allow a little bit, but it's really for the public.
Yeah.
Okay. Amy.
Yeah, thank you. So with this budget update, the proposed percent increase on the operating budget compared to last year is 3.72% for the district, correct? But I am trying to figure out the reasons for, I think I understand the reasons, but I just kind of want to make sure I'm understanding correctly, trying to get to the right slide too, but my mouse is not cooperating. The slide that's showing the assessments per town, because, what is it?
Slide number 12.
Thank you. Slide number 12, I went way past it. Let me get back up to there. Okay, so 3.72% increase on the operating budget as the whole district translates into more than that for 2 of the 3 towns. And so when you're trying to understand the basic reasons for that, it's because the towns have different minimum local contributions that are
Correct.
required by the state, and different enrollments at the high school. Are those kind of like the two?
It does not tie back to enrollment at the high school. You're thinking of the debt assessment, which is tied to the regional agreement for debt says that October 1 date for the high school enrollment if it's debt related to the high school, which that currently is the case. So when you look at the operating assessment for the towns, that's encompassed of 2 things: their minimum local contribution and then the variable assessment. The variable assessment is everything after state aid, revenues, the minimum local contributions. That variable assessment is divided up based on the 5-year rolling average of foundation enrollment. So the reason why you see a different change for each one is because that assessment that has the minimum local contribution plus the variable assessment, their minimum local contributions change differently based on lots of different factors, but essentially with regards to the equalization, the wealth factor, as it's commonly known, for each of the 3 towns. So just to give you a sort of sketch of what that looks like, so for Bolton, it went up approximately 450,000. Lancaster's went up approximately 420,000, and then Stowe's minimum local contribution went up approximately 410,000. So while they're close, they are different, and it splits out even more differently when you apply the variable assessment 5-year rolling average from the foundation enrollment.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Mulcairn, if I may jump in for a moment as well. I know we added the slides for the joint meeting tomorrow night. And Mr. Mulcairn, I think it would be possible on slide 40, perhaps, that's titled Town Assessment Calculations. It might be useful for the public for us to hyperlink the video that we had created to explain how the budget is made through the minimum local contributions and variable assessments as a way to help our public understand Ms. Cullen's point.
Superintendent Downing, you and I are on the same page. That is 2 slides ahead on slide number 42.
Oh, well, there you go.
All right.
So we'll point people to slide number 42 to understand why those assessment percentages are higher in 2 of our towns.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question I had was related to the slide showing the offsets.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm having trouble navigating to that one too. My mouse is being problematic. Sorry. Was that before this one or after?
Slide 19 of the spreadsheet,
Of the spreadsheet, thank you.
which is titled Budget Update number 2.
Okay, getting there. Sorry, guys. See if I can scroll down to it. Okay, so is this the right? That's 18. For this, I find this summary very helpful. I don't know if this has been presented in prior years, but I guess one question I have is the cost after offset. That's the far right column there. That's the number that's showing up in the operating budget. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That is the cost to the budget. Yes.
Okay. I think the only thing that would, I think, help me and maybe other members of the community and the school committee understand how these offsets can reduce our total operating budget would be, and I don't know if this is something to give to Budget Warrant like next year. It's like how do we make judgment calls about how much money we're using, you know, to as a lever to reduce our operating budget each year? And like, should we be thinking about how much money is left in those revolving accounts? Kind of like to me, I don't know if it's appropriate to think of it in the same way as like we've developed some guidelines around the use of E&D. Should we be doing the same with the revolving accounts?
I think when we look at these revolving accounts, Ms. Cohen, that's why we present them in November, is to show our committee what those balances look like. So we can certainly expand on that conversation when we look at those balances in the November meeting. I think that's an excellent practice for us to do.
Ross, what's the value of using the offset so early in the spreadsheet as opposed to just like putting all the offsets off at the bottom so that the numbers at the top remain pure, and then at the bottom you almost treat it like one of the revenue sources, although it's not revenue?
No, I understand your question. I think we've done it sort of based on how it's been built in the past. We've actually updated this offset table, I think a couple of years ago. I worked really hard to make sure it was clear about what the source was, how much it was, and then sort of like the before and after on here versus just a list of, there was a little bit of a list, sort of a summary list of what the offsets were versus this way. I would have to potentially just do some double checking with my finance mentors on that one. So the purpose of the executive summary is to really sort of like boil down what the costs are, what the total budget is, and what's going out to the towns. So I understand your visual on that, Madam Chair. I just would want to do a little bit of digging on how that fits in. So
this is a humongous work in progress that has just gotten better and better every single year, Ross. So I look forward to watching you make it better and better every year. I think Amy, Budget and Warrant should probably consider this, or maybe I'll leave it to Scott on how he wants to manage it as the chair. But
Okay,
did you have another question, Amy?
Just one last question about this. So any grants that flow through to the district would be captured here?
No, this is just grants that are offsetting operational costs, Ms. Cohen. So we have other grants that do things. So for example, if we think about our pathways grant, so that doesn't necessarily offset Ms. Hannigan's portion of her work. It directly pays for it. And we wouldn't have the pathways program without the pathways grant, at least a starting position. So for this purpose, we try to show them, especially when we get into these major categories.
Okay. Right. Yeah, I'm not sure I followed that, but I will follow up with outside of this. I don't want to spend too much more time on it.
Yeah, I would say it this way. Every year, I think that you've been on the committee, we've had you approve the ESSA grants. The Title I is part of that. There's a Title I teaching position in that we would not have without that position. So it's not an operating budget position necessarily. It is only in existence because of that. So.
And that one position, that Title I position does not land in this spreadsheet anywhere?
Correct. It's non-operating. It's strictly from the grant. Yep.
Because that position is journaled, accounted directly from the grant to that employee, not through the operating budget.
So when the grant goes away, that position goes away.
That is correct.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. I have two quick questions for you. Question number one, on the position that we just approved, that is the transportation coordinator for special ed transportation. I know that there's a range for the salary, but wouldn't you agree that the cost of bringing somebody like that in is a little bit more than the salary? How do we account for the benefits piece?
So we budget benefits based off the January headcount, and I understand your position and your question. We'll have people come off of our benefits and join our benefits. So for one position, it's not necessarily something that we would add the benefit cost when we don't know whether or not they'll take our benefits. And again, we'll have people come off of our benefits as well. So to keep it apples to apples from year to year, it's the January headcount that we use. There's different schools of thought on that, no doubt, but that's how we've done it.
That makes sense. My second question is about the school choice dollars. So from what I gather, correct me if I'm wrong, we are going to use that money that's been sitting there, that's been accruing for a couple years, to offset next year's budget. But wouldn't that be a problem 2 years from now when we've expended all of that and that offset is no longer there?
So that's not entirely the picture. So we finished last year, so FY25, with a balance of approximately $300,000. We anticipate that we'll bring in approximately, depending upon how many slots are added, bring in approximately close to that $500,000. So to your point, I just want to go back to where I was. To your point about the offset of $500,000, if we fall short of that $500,000 mark coming in, we have a $300,000 balance still available that can help go towards that.
So the offset, the only offset that we're using in this next fiscal year is what we anticipate bringing in to school choice. We're going to leave that cushion there if we can.
We'll have a little bit of a delta on that will use up some of that balance. But I know that, Mr. Powell has, I think, reiterated my thought that I'm going to give right now, is that we always want to leave some balance in our accounts. And not all accounts are the same. But we try to leave some level of a balance in there because you don't want to be fiscally irresponsible and say, we're going to have $1 million offset from the X, Y, and Z revolving fund next year when we can't be sure what's going to happen. And if we bring in $800,000, we've already created a $200,000 deficit in the budget before the budget's even started. So we don't operate that way. Most of our offsets that we know that the balance is already there, or year over year, it's either increased or held steady on revenue, where we're using some of that anticipated and maybe a little bit of the balance, but we're cautious not to run balances all the way down.
Yeah, because ultimately, you only want to use an offset that you expect to get within one fiscal year, because otherwise that would then be using one-time money for operational long-term cost.
Correct. And if you start running revolving fund balances down to zero, you're now sort of beholden to what you may get in, and you can't guarantee that either. So you can think of the sort of the the fiscal implications, complications, and impact to the budget that way.
Okay. Sharon.
So, my question, I think what I'm wondering about is how the various grant monies that we have intersect with the budgets, because we approve on a fairly regular basis the grant monies that have been received. So like the Pathways program is one.
Correct.
There are others that we've received through DESE for the high quality materials or implementation of various programs. But that money is not reflected in the budget. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
With the exception of those special education grants.
Mm-hmm.
So because those offset operational costs. So typically, if we're going to set up a grant account within our part of accounts for something like Pathways, and it's the supplies and materials, right, for the Pathways account, those are charged directly to the grant line. We then have to seek the reimbursement from the state and show them sort of like, here's what we expended under this grant. And, we have to prove that we used that for the grant as it was set up. And then we get reimbursed for that directly to the district.
So, but there is through the work towards getting those grants and receiving those grants, we have benefits that come to us, such as the Pathways program or such as some of the training that's happened or the positions that we've received or that we funded through grant money. That those are benefits that we are getting for our system, for our children, right? That
Correct.
are paid for through grant money that we have actively sought out. And that is not reflected in the budget. So that is not something that our towns then are paying for, I guess, through the budget.
Yeah, I think what you've done, Ms. Carlson, is create a page in the upcoming budget book that shows how we've benefited from grants, because you are right, they are outside the operating budget, but there's a significant benefit to the school district. And most of that credit goes to our assistant superintendent for teaching and learning, Laura Friend, and her department, and the various teachers that work with her to bring those in.
I would love it if that really could be something that's really clear and highlighted, because there's a huge benefit that our families are getting that is not apparent, that it happens behind the scenes. And I think it's worthwhile for our families to know how that's happening.
Agreed. And I think it also sets us apart as a school district. So correct. We'll look at that. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Ms. Pock, if I can just insert something for a moment, and it's not to correct you, but just to point out, it's not that it happens behind the scenes, because we presented all these things publicly to the public eye. What I hear you asking for is to show the relationship of the grants to the operational budget and to show their independency of the operational budget. Is that accurate?
Yes, I'm sorry, I misspoke. I behind the scenes wasn't the right way to describe that.
No.
I think what would have been more accurate is to say this is adjacent to the budget, but it is a benefit that we are getting outside of the cost that's included in this budget.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would also say, Sharon, to your point, is that we approve these things over long periods of time, and 10,000 here and 75,000 there. But like when you add all of the grants up, it's a whopping number. And so there's a little bit of celebration that this document could provide to remind everybody the sum total at the end of the year, and not just this piecemeal approach that we need to do to be within our policy. So it's a great point, Sharon, to try to highlight that somewhere here.
Absolutely.
I think that, we always come down to this point again and again where the costs, it's expensive and the costs are going up, and we're having to say to the towns, we're trying to keep, really work with the towns to keep the budget increases into what the towns can afford. But I think also there's a lot of work that goes into getting these other monies that are direct benefits. And I think it's important that that is known.
Excellent. Any other? Oh, Laura wants to weigh in. Yes, Laura. We have a little visitor.
I'm never able to find my way into these conversations. It's exciting. Thank you. I would say that we approach the privilege of seeking grant funding to help supplement and accelerate the work of our strategic plan. And where we wouldn't be able to see as much intensity and ability to support our teachers with implementation and resources with the operating budget, while the operating budget is functional and important, and we're thankful to our community members. The seeking of the grant funding is working to help support, strengthen, and accelerate the work of our strategic plans. And we would be happy to provide information on the connection. As well as my furry friends. And it is having an impact, and we would be excited about the opportunity to celebrate that with our community.
Thanks, Laura. I'm not seeing any more golden hands.
Madam Chair, perhaps the grant summary is a good parking lot item.
Indeed. Alita, would you mind putting the grant summary in the parking lot for us? Thanks. I just don't have it up. Or maybe I actually do, but you're probably faster than me. All right, guys. I think that brings to an end the finance and operations update. Thank you to Kirk and Ross and Laura. Yay, you got to weigh in today. Thank you to all of you guys for all of your endless work. It is such an enormous undertaking. I've been here for now what seems like a dog's age, and it's just gotten so much better. And not to disparage anybody before you. I think they probably made it better than the people before them. But Ross, the level of detail and transparency is exceptional, and we appreciate you. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, moving the agenda to the next item here. We have no unfinished business because we like to finish our business. But we do perhaps have some subcommittee report outs, and I wonder if any of the chair people would like to raise their golden hand, let us know if they have anything to share.
School building committee is going to be the same update for the next couple of weeks, is that our next meeting is Thursday, March 19th, is it? Please hold. Yes. March 19th, of which we will be taking the recommendation vote on the PV systems. Just want to let the committee know we asked you to make sure you're attending and watching that meeting. We should be receiving the contract here very soon, of which we will review with Attorney Mello, and that contract will be presented at that meeting as well. So just want to make sure you'll have all those things, because we know that a week after that, we're asking you all to take a vote on the recommendation of the school building committee.
So just to follow up on that, the contract will be in the meeting materials of the SBC and in the school committee meeting on the 25th. You can attend that meeting, and Chair Sikansky has assured me that if you want to ask questions at that meeting, even though you're not a member of that subcommittee, you can certainly weigh in, raise your golden hand. He's happy to allow you to ask the solar. Is Select going to be at that meeting, Kirk?
That's a good question. I'll ask at my planning meeting on Friday.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. as the contract would be with them. So you guys will have an opportunity to review the contract and hear from the consultants and even ask questions at that SBC meeting on the 19th.
Madam Chair, I would just, if we end up having a majority of our school committee there in form of a quorum, you can just do a simple call of the meeting after the school building committee calls, and that'll take care of any issues with open meeting law, I think.
Should we post a joint meeting? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That's probably fine. I was actually leaning toward just avoiding deliberation, but that's probably hard to do.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to do that for just to be careful.
Well, at the Tri-Town, I know that that's what they did because they were going to have so many quorums present. So, Alita, maybe we can, in addition, on the 19th, in addition to posting the school building committee, we could post a school committee meeting, hoping that 6 of us would be there. And if 6 of us don't show, then we can just call it off at the moment. Okay, and that's virtual. Keeping in mind, guys, on the 25th, we will have on the agenda in our meeting that recommendation from the school building committee. That is all that it is a recommendation. So you could take their recommendation, you could go against their recommendation, whatever it is, and you're going to be asked to vote whether or not we should enter into this 20-year contract to do a solar lease. Okay, some more details on that to come. Thank you, Superintendent, and all the people who have kind of weighed in to make this process as smooth as possible. It is a big deal, and we're trying to be as thoughtful as we can so that everybody feels comfortable about making this long-term decision, a decision that will exist probably long after all of us have hung up our Nashoba hats. So it's good. Any other subcommittee share-outs? Okay. So not seeing any, let's move to items for the next agenda. Can I have anybody want to add anything other than the grant summary? I see Scott.
Yeah, excuse me. I think it would be worthwhile for this committee to review our, I don't know if it's a protocol or a policy, but with respect to public comments at meetings and in particular at subcommittee meetings, so that we can both all become re-educated and about what those protocols are and deliberate if there are any revisions that we feel are appropriate at this point in time.
Okay, very good. So public comment and public participation at subcommittee meetings and the procedures. It's a good idea to revisit that. I feel like we haven't done so in a little while. Any other items for another agenda, future agenda? Thanks, Alita, for putting that in there. I am not seeing anything, but as always, guys, if something comes up, just let me know and I'll throw it on my meeting list when I chat with Kirk on Wednesdays.
Looks like Jillian's hand's up.
Oh, is that Jillian's hand? I miss you. I miss you. Go ahead, Jillian.
That's okay. No worries. I was just wondering if, sometime maybe toward the end of the school year, we could get an update on sort of how the AI rollout has gone in the high school.
Great idea. Any other items? All right, I'm not seeing any golden hands.
The March, the second.
The next meeting?
Yeah. And make sure that the communication subcommittee has a report out or on the website updates. Or was that going to be in April?
Website reveal is on March something or other.
Okay, perfect.
Alita, will you scroll up really quickly? And I just want to make the committee and the community aware that there are 3 March meetings. Lucky us. So that hearing that we were talking about, required by law and our regional agreement, is on March 4th. Not only will we have the budget hearing, but we'll have a very brief one item school committee meeting right afterward. And then we'll have just our regular meetings for March on the 11th and the 25th. The 11th being the big budget vote. So again, required by our regional agreement that we bring or that we put forth a budget to the towns before March 15th, I believe it says. So that is going to be a big deal, the March 11th vote. So hopefully everybody can make it. It's in person. And then we'll just, after that, we'll turn our attention to all the other things that matter in a school district that are not the budget. All right. So with that said, I am going to move to adjourn.
Second.
Jackie got it. Good job, Jackie. I'm going to vote yes. Jackie?
Yes, sorry.
It's okay. Shondor?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Jillian?
Yes.
And Lindsay?
Yes.
Excellent. Yay! Not a record, guys, but not bad. See you all next time.
Thank
Thanks.
you.